Hello. So for today's video, I'm going to share with you some of the common mistakes in integration that students commit. So our first example will be this one. We have the integral of x to the fifth times the product times the binomial x plus 1. So most students will treat this as a product, but they will integrate it as a product as well. So what they will write will be like this. Let me just get my white pen. So they will be applying the simple power rule to each of the factors. So using the simple power rule to this factor, they will write that as x to the 6 over 6. Yeah, using the formula for the integral of x to the n dx, which is equal to x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1 plus c for as long as n is not equal to -1. And then for this factor, the students will be writing that as x squared over 2 plus constant. You just have to attach the variable in this differential factor. So what is to be written is x. But this is wrong. So kahit lagyan pa yan ng plus c, mali pa din. So we don't integrate a product as or we don't consider an integral of a product as the product of the integrals. That will be a wrong thing to do. So what's the right thing to do is to what? What we do is simply multiply this using the distributive property. So what we'll have is x to the 6. We still have the integral symbol, x to the 6 plus x to the 5th. And that way we can integrate this since this is a sum. The integral of a sum is equal to the sum of two integrals. So we can integrate this one by one. So since separated siya ng plus symbol, integral of the first term will be x to the 7 over 7 plus the integral of the second term, which is x to the 6 over 6. And then plus the constant of integration c. And that's it. This becomes the final answer to this integral. Now let's have the next one. Another common thing is to integrate this as a quotient. Parang ang treatment sa kanya is yung integral of a quotient is equal to the quotient of their integrals. So what students will mostly do is apply the simple power rule to each of the terms on the numerator. So they will be having x to the 4th over 4 plus 4x squared over 2, which simplifies to 2x squared. And then minus constant, we simply attach the variable. So 5x. And then for the denominator, x, 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 over 3. And then adding the constant of integration, which is c. And of course, this is again wrong. We don't do that for a quotient. So what is the right thing to do? So given that, let's change the color of our pen to yellow. Since you are given or we are given with just a single term on the denominator, we can divide each of the terms on the numerator to x squared. So we have x cubed over x squared plus 4x over x squared minus 5 over x squared dx. And we simply apply the laws of exponents from here. So we have x plus 4 over x or 4x to the -1 minus 5x to the -2. As much as possible, we don't want a denominator in our expression. Ayan, so we can now apply our simple power rule for this one. We have x squared over 2. We can now do that kasi separated na siya ng plus and minus yung mga terms natin. So it's like distributing the integration process to each of the terms. It's like integrating your sum or difference term by term. And then for this one, this is the exception to the rule. So what we'll have is 4 ln of the absolute value of x minus 5. And then for this one, -2 plus 1 is -1 over -1 plus c. Notice that we can still simplify the last term. So we'll have x squared over 2 plus 4 ln x or ln of the absolute value of x plus 5 over x plus c. All right, so that's it. Now let's go to this one. Again, this is a product, so we don't integrate this using the formula for the integral of sine x. What students will normally do is integrate this factor. So integral ng sine is negative cosine. And then integral of cosine is positive sine x. And then simply attach the constant c. And of course, that is again wrong kasi we're given with a product. Again, I'm emphasizing that the integral of a product is not equal to the product of the integrals. This is not equal to the integral of sine x multiplied by the integral of cosine x dx. We don't distribute the integral or the integration process to each of the factors. Okay? So what's the right thing to do? We'll be applying integration by algebra substitution. So we can either let u equal to sine x or cosine x, but this time we prefer u to be equal to sine x using our algebraic substitution. Then if we get the derivative of u with respect to x, derivative of differentiating both sides with respect to x, this will become cosine of x. We're applying this formula. Okay. Ayan, so balik tayo. So, bali lalabas yung ating du is just equal to, can multiply dx on both sides. So, it's just equal to cosine x dx. And we notice that if this is our u, this is just equal to our du. So, ang nangyari, magiging lang siyang u du. So, that means we can just readily apply our simple power rule wherein the understood exponent of this is 1. So, what we have is u squared over 2. Where did we get the 2? From 1 plus 1. And then we have the constant of integration. Don't forget our vitamin C. Okay, is this the final answer? Of course, not yet kasi we still have to go back to our original variable. Remember that u is equal to sine x. So this will be equal to sine squared x over 2 plus the constant of integration c. And this becomes our final answer. Okay. Now for our next example, we have this one. Another common mistake of the students is applying the simple power rule to this one. So the students have a tendency to evaluate this as e to the 7x plus 1 all over 7x plus 1 and then plus c. Other common mistake will be e to the, gagawing e to the 8x over 8x kasi 7 plus 1 daw is 8 then plus c. Of course, both of this are wrong. Mali po yan. Hindi po yan ang tama. So, that is wrong. Okay? So, what's the right thing to do? So, again, we remember our formula for the integral of e to the u. So, we remember that we have to let this portion equal to u. So, using our algebraic substitution again, we have 7x. Differentiating both sides with respect to x. Our left side will be d over dx equal to just 7. You can just move this to this side. So du is equal to 7 dx. Or dx is just du over 7. So you notice dx is just du over 7 when this becomes e to the u. So this is e to the u times du over 7. Okay. So remember all the encircled expressions were replaced by something in terms of u. Okay. We notice here that 1 over 7 can be written outside the integral. So it becomes now the coefficient of our integral. So it's now more obvious that we can apply this formula. So formula for that is just e to the u. And then we just have to add the constant of integration c. So ano yung original variable? Remember our u is 7x. So that means we have e to the 7x all over 7 plus c. Notice that in here, we can actually apply our shortcut kasi diba, using our formula, this is just equal to e to the whatever u is in there. Okay? But since if we let this equal to our u, the exponent, notice that our exponent has a derivative, supposedly, which is just a constant. So we can apply that, the shortcut. So pwede nating i-divide na lang siya by the constant derivative, which is 7 plus c. That will be for the shortcut of this kind of expression. Every time we're integrating this and we want to use this expression, pagka yung derivative ng u natin supposedly is a constant, what happens is yung constant derivative na yon, malalagay lang siya sa denominator. Again, if you want to be reminded of what I just said, you can rewind this video for your retention purposes or review purposes. Now let's have this one. We can actually apply our formula, but a common mistake here is add 1 to the exponent. So 5x minus 7 plus 1, gagawin ng mga estudyante, minus 7 plus 1, edi minus 6. Divide by that exponent, 5x minus 6 plus c. Yan, nawiwiling mag plus 1 dun sa exponent, no? Yung simple power rule natin. Of course, again, this is wrong. Mali po yan. So what we do is be reminded of this formula wherein the constant is the base is a constant. So pag yung constant na yan, yun yung base mo, tapos your exponent is where your variable is, doon tayo nagle-let ng u. Again, pwede natin gamitin yung shortcut, diba? Yung shortcut natin, applying the formula as is muna, that will be 8. Let's be guided by the formula. According to our formula, we just have to copy the given for the numerator part. And then we have the ln of 8. But we remember that our u has a constant derivative, which is 5. So that 5 goes on the denominator. And then we just have to add the constant of integration c. Suppose we forgot this shortcut. So magle-let u na naman tayo nitong naka-underline expression. That will be 5x minus 7. So for our du over dx, that will be equal to 5. So that means our du is just 5 dx. This part will just go there. And of course, dividing both sides by 5, our dx is just du over 5. Ayan. So replacing this by du over 5, notice that we can not just replace this by du kasi hindi naman sila necessarily equal. So this becomes 8 raised to the u, and the dx part becomes du over 5, which means we can take out the constant 1/5 outside the integral. So we have 1/5 8 to the u du, so that it somehow looks exactly as this formula, where the a is equal to 8. So we have 1/5, and then following the formula, we have 8 to the u over ln of 8. But then again, we're reminded that our u is equal to this expression for the original variable. So we have 8 raised to 5x minus 7 all over 5 ln of 8 plus the constant of integration c. So this becomes our final answer. Okay, now what about this one? Another common mistake is using the simple power rule. Since this is separated by plus, na-excite gamitin kasi, diba, we're seeing exponents in here, and those exponents pwede parang pwedeng mag-add ng 1. So the students have a tendency to just treat this expression like this one. Kasi 2 plus 1 is 3. So ayan po. Na masyadong nasarap pang mag-add ng 1. Ay, sorry. This is 2 plus 1, kaya 3 over 3. Then plus c. And of course, again, this is, of course, wrong. Mali po ito. Okay? So what is the right thing to do? Ayan, let's be reminded of our trigo identities, which will be important in here. Remember that using the first Pythagorean identity, this portion is just equal to a 1. So what we have is just tangent squared x plus 1 times dx. And then we use this second Pythagorean identity. Okay, so that becomes just second squared x. Ayan, so pag naging second squared x na siya, remember that it's readily integrable. Hindi siya magiging second cube over 3 ha. Baka naman magawa natin ganito. Of course, that will be wrong. Okay? So ang tama is to apply this formula. So the correct answer will just be tangent of x plus c. So this is the correct answer using this formula. Okay, so that's it. Remember that mistakes are the stepping stones to learning. Happy integration. Bye.